Hey everyone, it's me here with a special guest. Today we are going to talk about color theory, how it works, and most importantly, how you can use it in your modern web designs. And if you stick around until the end, the first thing that we should touch on is color psychology. What does the color red make you think of? Passion, courage, or danger? I have some beautiful high-fidelity mock-ups that I will share with you that you can use in your own personal projects. We're going to cover quite a bit of ground, so let's jump right into it. How about blue? Because you trying to evoke those feelings of passion, courage, and excitement. Gradients are awesome because they allow you to smoothly transition between two or more colors. Using gradients doesn't mean that you have to use multiple colors. You can also use shades of the same color to create a gradient, which is something that many sites do, like Apple, Facebook, and Microsoft. We want to make sure that there is enough contrast between the text and the background so that it's easy to read. This is great for creating depth, dimension, and visual interest. You can use them on backgrounds, buttons, card borders, or really anywhere where you want to add some depth. The tool also tells you what WCA level the contrast ratio meets. For example, AA or AAA, and you can also compare the colors to the three primary colors, black, white, and gray. Here in the US, white is associated with cleanliness and purity. But in many Asian countries, white is used at funerals and it's associated with death and mourning. This tool is super helpful when you're trying to decide on the right color palette. In that case, my best advice is to pull inspiration from their existing marketing materials, their website, or their app. And this is something that designers at Tesla, American Airlines, and Starbucks do all the time, because obviously they have to follow the brand guidelines. When you click the spacebar, it generates a new color palette. And if you hold down the spacebar, it will generate multiple color palettes. And you can also change the colors by dragging them on the wheel. And it integrates seamlessly with many popular frameworks and tools like React, Apollo, Next.ease, Firebase, and many more. Their main colors are black, white, and red. Black is used to represent power, sophistication, and luxury. Hasura also makes scaling your application extremely easy. On their site, they use red strategically on call-to-action buttons and throughout their blog posts to highlight important information. Their website uses a variety of colors to represent creativity, collaboration, and professionalism. Hasura is the leading backend for modern apps, and it helps you build a PS authentication, data syncing, file storage, and so much more in no time. Blue is used to represent stability, trust, and professionalism. They use green on their call-to-action button to evoke a sense of growth in Islam, and they use orange throughout the site to add pops of color and to create visual interest. Their website uses a variety of colors to represent innovation, creativity, and fun. Their main colors are blue, red, and green. Green is used to represent growth, nature, and Islam. Orange is used to represent enthusiasm, creativity, and warmth. And they use green in their images and graphics to add pops of color and to create visual interest. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Overall, the use of color on Google SS website is very playful, and it helps to communicate their brand message of a company that is constantly innovating and pushing the boundaries of what is possible. And then once you have a palette that you like, you can click the lock icon to lock it. Red is used to represent excitement, energy, and passion. Green is used to represent growth, nature, and Islam. On their site, they use blue in their logo and throughout the site to establish trust and professionalism. Adobe has a fantastic color generator tool that lets you play around with different colors and see how they go together. Once you have your colors picked out, you can save them as a KDS file or just copy the hex codes. Another amazing tool is called Coolors. Coolors has tons of really cool features. Overall, the use of color on Tesla's website is very effective, and it helps to communicate their brand message of innovation, excitement, and luxury. It allows you to input the hex code of your foreground and background colors, and then it will tell you what the contrast ratio is. So again, just keep in mind the audience that you're designing for when you're choosing colors. Do you think of freedom, trust, and loyalty, or maybe the ocean or the sky? Each color has different meanings depending on the context. These meanings are based on our experiences, memories, and emotions, and each person is going to have slightly different associations with each color. So when you choose a color for your website or your app, you want to take these feelings and meanings into consideration. For example, if you're rebuilding an e-commerce site for plus-size clothing that empowers women to feel confident and comfortable in their own skin, you might not want to use red because even though red evokes excitement and passion, it also brings to mind danger, blood, and courage. But if you're building a sports website, like for a UFC promotion, then red might actually be a really good choice. Another important aspect of color psychology is the cultural difference. Let's now talk about gradients. A lot of popular sites use gradients like Airbnb, UpLabs, Uber, and PayPal. Just remember that too many gradients can be overwhelming, so try to reserve them for important elements on your page to really draw attention to them. Next up is color contrast, and this is really important for accessibility. There are many tools online that you can use to check the contrast ratio and make sure that it meets WCAG standards. My favorite one is called Web Contrast Checker. You don't know the hex codes? You can simply drag the colors onto the boxes to get the values. The tool also has some predefined color spaces that you can select from, and it shows you the contrast ratio for each one. Speaking of color palettes, let's talk about some tools that you can use to pick your color schemes. You can use the preset color harmonies, like complementary, analogous, or triadic, or you can select from one of the preset themes.
My favorite ones are the random generator and the space bar.
If you're redesigning for a client, or you're reworking on a project that already has an established brand, then you'll probably have to stick to certain colors that are already established. Then you can use some of the tools that we talked about earlier, like Coolers or Adobe's color generator, to come up with the right color palette that works well with the main brand colors. Before we move on to some real examples, I want to quickly say thank you to today's sponsor, Hasora. With Hasora, you can start building your front end without having to wait on the back end to be finished. As your app grows, Hasora will grow with you, and it handles all of the infrastructure, so you don't have to worry about it. All right, let's take a look at some real examples from popular sites. The first one is Tesla. Tesla is very intentional with their use of color. White is used to represent simplicity, minimalism, and cleanliness. Red is used to evoke excitement, energy, and passion. They also use red in their logo, which is one of the first things that you see when you visit their site. The next example we're going to look at is Upwork. Upwork is a freelancing platform that connects businesses with freelancers. Their main colors are blue, green, and orange. On their site, they use blue on their header and their footer to establish trust and professionalism. Overall, the use of color on Upwork's website is well balanced, and it helps to communicate their brand message of a platform that connects professionals from all over the world to find and do their best work. Next up is Google. Google is a tech company that specializes in search engine technology. Blue is used to represent stability, trust, and professionalism. They use red on their call to action button to evoke a sense of excitement and energy. Now, if you want to learn more about color theory, I highly recommend checking out this video right here where I talk about how to pick the right colors for your website.